Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. My name is Nadav. I'm SVP of Supersonic in IronSource. And what I'm going to discuss in the next 30 minutes is a little bit about the publishing process of a hyper-casual game, or how we recommend to do it in order to increase your chances to get a hit. And we'll try to leave some time for questions. All right, let's start. So first of all, a few words about Supersonic, so you'll know a little bit more about us. We are the IronSource publishing solution. IronSource is doing everything in the app economy world, and Supersonic is the solution that we give for hyper-casual developers that are looking for a publisher to help them to scale their game and grow it. So far, Supersonic has published 35 games in a year and a half, 19 games last year in 2020, and already 16 games in the first 8 months of 2021. So we are looking forward to see this growing, and we're expecting 2021 to be a very, very big year for us. We're a total of 100-person team, including many different departments, from R&D and product that is building several products for you in order to scale your game, prototyping platform, SDKs, etc. Of course, growth team, monetization, creatives, publishing, game design, everything that you can imagine. So far in 2021, we had quite a good year. In the first quarter of 2021, we had Joint Clash, which was the most downloaded game worldwide, both iOS and Android in Q1. And we also had Stacky Dash, which was also one of the top 10 most downloaded games in the world in Q1. In Q2, again, we had the most downloaded game in the world, Bridge Race, and also Going Balls, which also was part of the top 10 most downloaded games in the world, iOS and Android combined. This data is by App Annie. And we have quite a success in Turkey as well. So we already have 5 different games that were published with Turkish partners, Turkish developers. Started with Get Rich, which was our winner of the first Superstar competition at the end of 2020 on December last year. Then we had Mad Dogs by Lotcopter. Then we had Bridge Race, which you all probably know, which is the winner of our second competition, which took place a couple of months ago, and drive already more than 150 million installs. We have Clone Ball by Lootcopter again, and from last week, we published our 5th game with a Turkish developer, which is Down the Hall. You probably see him in the charts, scaling these days and doing very well. What I'll discuss next is the publishing funnel from our eyes, from concept to first test, building a full game and then scale it, in order to make sure that we are optimizing the process as much as possible and increasing the chances. This is the Supersonic overview, although I would recommend to any hyper-casual developer, whether he's self-publishing or working with a different publisher that is not Supersonic, to follow this methodology. So the first step is the concept, right? It's probably the hardest one, to pick a concept that can scale nicely and generate what you want to do. And we always recommend, before deep diving into the concept phase, is to do some market analysis, to look at the top games, top hyper-casual games currently in the top charts, understand their subgenres, whether it's puzzles, runners, IO, or many things, what is trending these days, looking at their narratives or themes to understand what is bringing good CPI, looking at different mechanics that are successful and maybe helping this retention and playtime of these games, and of course, analyzing strong elements from the game. I put here a very short analysis. We did actually similar analysis that Supersonic did last week. We looked at the 20 top hyper-casual games, again, iOS and Android combined. We look at the subgenre to understand runner, simulation, puzzle, what are these games. We look at the narrative to see if we see any narrative that is constantly coming back, from war to money and weapons and beauty, etc. We look at the mechanic and we look at the elements. We will not going to go over this table now, but I'm going to show you a few interesting examples in the next couple of slides. After understanding and analyzing the top chart games and what is trending in the hyper-casual world today, we always recommend to look at the hot trends in the internet and social media to get inspired by relatable and broad themes that can help you to think about your next concept, and then taking into account both the market analysis you did, the hot trend that you see in the internet and different social media today, and your creativity, and come with a new concept that you would like to test, and maybe will be the next hyper-casual hit. And in order to do it, in order to take these three different layers, right, the top hyper-casual games, the trends, hot trends in the social media, and your creativity, in order to merge all these three into one concept, you can use 1 out of 5 different methodologies. Either try a new template and mechanic, we will see a few examples. Coming from something from scratch, it's harder for sure, but if you manage to crack it, the gain is big as well because you are first to market. Or use a template that works and adapt a new narrative, add a twist, right? Kind of and improve model that you take something that is looking good and working well, but you take it into a different place, and we'll see examples of this as well. You can either take a popular mechanic or narrative and bring it into a new subgenre, looking at something that is working well on simulation, bring it to runners, etc. We will see examples as well. Either merge 2 successful games into one game that can work better, or an evolve of an existing successful concept. Methodology 1, the example number 1 that I want to bring, is Going Ball and Chatmaster. These 2 games, when they came out to the market, there were no very similar games to it. It was based mainly on creativity, higher risk because you are not sure at all if it will work. I remember when we saw Chatmaster concept in the first time, we were not even sure that it will work as a game because it doesn't feel like a game. But the advantage of the opportunity, if it does work, is that you can get a lot of installs and the potential is big because you are building something that is innovative and you are first to market. Both Chatmaster, which got to number 1 on both iOS and Android, or Going Ball that is still in the top 10 most installed games in many, many countries, are doing very, very well thanks to the fact that they were kind of innovative in the mechanic, in the concept, and there were no similar games. So this methodology number 1 requires a lot of creativity, harder to crack, you have higher chances to fail, but if you manage to nail it, the gain is even bigger. Methodology number 2 is using a template that works and adapt a new narrative with some twist or innovative take, right? You know Join Clash, it's a game that we've published a year and a half ago at the beginning of Supersonic in February last year. And I think that this was the first runner that used the gaining resources and using the resources. Here you are gaining other soldiers to join your group, and you are losing them either to obstacles or to the second or the group you are fighting against. And I think that this concept was taken very, very well into different type of runners that using the same methodology of a runner where you are gaining something and then you are losing it and gaining it and losing it. And I think that Hair Challenge is a good example for a new narrative with a feminine theme that is very popular, and the new take, because you need to take care of your hair and your tail, which gives a different feeling to the game. And this is an example of taking a template that works, bring it into a new place with a new narrative, with some twist on the feeling of the game. Another example is Chatmaster, which came first, and a couple of months afterward, we published 911, that again took as inspiration from Chatmaster in terms of the template of the game, but it took it to a new narrative of a more emergency environment and added a twist that after the chatting and the decision making during the chat, you need to take a decision which service to dispatch in order to help. So it's again taking something that works, that has higher likelihood to work again, take it into a new narrative, adding a twist, and you might have a potential to find a new hit. It worked for us and for others in the example that I gave. And the third example for this methodology number 2, is Countmaster and then Aerofest that came afterward. Again, they took the concept of Countmaster that looks in this way, took it into a new narrative of weapons, of war, different camera angles, some twist in the gameplay, and you got another hit that is doing very, very well. And this is the methodology, the second methodology that you can use in order to come with a fresh idea. The third methodology is to take a popular mechanic, right? For in this example, stacking was working very, very well at last year, right? With stair run and shortcut run and many games that use the stacking mechanic, and then to take it into a new subgenres. For example, IO, like Bridge Race, or kind of a puzzle like a Stacky Dash. And this is another methodology that you can use. You find a very strong mechanic and you try to bring them into a new subgenre in the hyper-casual world that can work as well. Another example is Bounce and Collect that came first with the multipliers, and then Tap to Play took this multipliers concept from a puzzle game into a runner game, and they merged kind of joint clash with the multipliers gates and the great feeling of growing and getting smaller, and did very, very well with a crazy hit like a Countmaster. So this example of methodology number 3, which is taking element or mechanic that works in one subgenre in the hyper-casual world and take it into another one. Another example will be taking a narrative that works and bringing it to a new subgenre. So we have Oh God, for example, a Turkish developer, Alictus, an amazing game that did very, very well about heaven and hell, etc. And now we are seeing a runner with a similar narrative that took the narrative from a simulation game into a runner game that works very, very well, and was managed to build a new game and a new hit out there. Methodology number 4 can be take 2 different games, successful games, and merge them into a one game that can work very well. Here you can see Aqua Park, Stair Run, and of course Shortcut Run that took the shortcut feeling of Aqua Park, the competition, and you are shortcutting and finding a way to pass your competitors, with the stacking feeling of Stair Run, and they built this game. They did very, very, very well. Another example, right, is Cube Surfer together with Roof Rails and High Heels that took these 2 mechanics into one new game that worked very, very well. This is methodology number 4, combining 2 different games into one game and try to build something that is even more interesting. And methodology number 5 is evolving of a concept, right? If you see knock 'em all and knock balls into knock 'em all, similar concept that worked very, very well here. They added movement, more first-person action game, and another game that worked very, very well with an evolvement of a very existing and successful concept that works. So this is coming with the concept. To summarize, look at what is working today from narrative, from subgenre, from a mechanic, from elements perspective, what's working today on the top charts. Look at hot trends on the social media that can give you new ideas for new narratives or new mechanic that might work, user creativity, and then combine them based on the 5 different methodologies that we presented. Step number 2, after you come with idea, is to check whether this idea can work. And we always need to start with emphasizing that 98% of the prototype fail, right? So don't be surprised. And majority of chances that your prototype is going to fail, but it's only a matter of time and consistency until you get it done right. This is why we really recommend to limit the investment that you have on the prototype before seeing its potential. It should be a lean MVP with core gameplay only. Don't invest in progression or meta or anything similar. It will be a waste of time. Keep it simple and stupid, right? It's right for hyper casual. It's right for a prototype that has likelihood to fail. You want to keep it as simple and stupid as possible before you understand its potential. In our eyes, 10 levels are more than enough for the first test. You need to add some juice and thinking in order to make the levels interesting for the videos, but 10 will be enough. And the main goal of the first test is to understand the marketability power of the game. We are also looking at in-game metrics, retention, playtime, but not that much. If you have 25, 30% day one retention with only 10 levels, it means that the mechanic is very sticky, and it's a very good sign. But even if your retention and playtime are very, very low in this phase, it's fine. The most important thing is to understand the marketability power of your game, and you need to make sure that it's clear in 3 seconds, either in the video that you produce or in the game itself when you pick it up. You need to understand what's going on there, what is the goal, what are the controls of the game, how does it work, very, very fast, and everybody needs to understand it very, very fast. This will be a core element for you to succeed. An important note here, it's super challenging to analyze the marketability power of a game. We need to balance between 2 things. From one end, we don't want to invest too much time, too much money, too much creative before we understand the potential. On the other end, testing the game on a low budget with one channel has some risks, not understand real marketability challenge, real marketability part of this concept. And you need to balance between these two. From one end, to fail quick and cheap, and on the other end, not to miss out on good opportunities. I think that Supersonic came with quite a good methodology. It worked for us. We managed to pick up some hits that were skipped by other publishers because they didn't evaluate their power well enough, and we managed to make them hits with millions of dollars in profit. And I think that what we are doing today is a very good balance between these two dilemmas. We have adjusted benchmarks that we are constantly adjusting according to CPM, CPI. We have few layers of testing in a couple of different channels according to the results. We are looking at multiple KPIs, and at the end of the day, we're giving a marketability grade to the concept that helps us from one end to limit the investment of both sides before understanding the potential, but on the other hand, not to miss opportunities and not to drop games that can make good hit and good money. And the bottom line, as I said in the beginning, guessing the marketability is almost impossible. Even if you are following the 5 methodologies that I mentioned, it's very, very hard. Even if you are doing the right mixes, sometimes it works, sometimes it isn't. The more you test, the more you're likely to find your marketable concept, and you need to be focused and efficient and believe in the process and be consistent until you find the right concept for you. Step number 3, we came with a concept. We came with the first test, and the marketability power is interesting. Now we want to build a full game out of this concept. And what we need to do here is to follow a few different guidance. First of all, is to remember the target audience. And again, remember that hyper-casual is built for everyone. It isn't built for gamers only. If you are building a very advanced RPG game, you are building a game for gamers only. If you are building a hyper-casual, you are building a game for everyone. Therefore, it has to be simple and clear. It must be easy to pick up. If it isn't, then you are limiting your target audience to gamers only, and then your game will not work, because hyper-casual needs scale in order to generate significant business and activity. Stick to the story and increase the connection between the player to the game. Think about the details, the progression, the meta. Everything needs to speak the same language in order to increase the enhancement between the player and the game itself. And focus on the level design a lot to generate the right feelings and emotions. Hyper-casual is a lot about the feelings and emotion. Successful, competitive, many, many different feelings. And the level design and the way that you will design each level will impact a lot the feelings that the player feels while playing. And it's super important. Every subgenre is working on a different feelings for the player, right? Some of them are for an easy challenge like puzzle and a winning feeling after you find a pattern. Other for excitement, fast-paced aggression release for action. It can be ASMR, which is a pure escapism, or IO. Every subgenre is nailing different feeling in the player. And when you are designing your levels, you need to make sure that you are building the right feeling for your players. Of course, you need to optimize and to balance between a lot of intuition, because you want to move fast, and constantly analyze the data, the level drops, the retention, the playtime, the design events, A/B test. It's always the balance between these two, because you need to be fast, because the trend might pass. If it will take for you 5 months to build your hyper-casual from the first test until you deliver it, it might be too late. Clones can come, the trend can pass. On the other end, you want to build it on the best way possible to maximize the LTV potential and the profit that we will generate. So it's always the balance between these two, and investing a lot in the content, keep progression and feelings and interest. What we are measuring in this phase is APAPU. It's a new KPI that we came up with a couple of months ago, and it stands for the average playtime, cumulated playtime per user, which includes both retention and playtime, right? It's very hard to look at each KPI differently. You have one game with 35% retention and super high playtime, a different game with 45% day one retention but mediocre playtime. Maybe day one retention is okay, but day 7 retention is very, very strong. look at each day and each KPI differently is very, very hard. Apapu is taking into consideration everything, all the different days, retention, playtime, to understand how much an average player playing the game along 7 days, to understand and to give a very good indication for the LTV. And step 4, which is the last step of the prototype of the hyper casual world, is growing the game. Here, of course, the goal is one, both for the publisher and the developer, to maximize the profit. And we need to invest both on user acquisition, to have the best practices strategy per network, to have a very good ability to predict the ROI of each user that's playing your game, and then to granular bid accordingly, and to make sure that you are leaving the right margin. You don't want to have too much high margin, because then the scale is small, but you don't want to have low margin, because then you are not generating enough profit. And you need to do everything with prediction, because you are paying the CPI today, and you are predicting what will be the LTV of the user in a couple of months. So there is a lot of data and tech-based decision to do. And of course, creatives, which is so significant in this perspective. And on the other hand, you want to optimize and to perfect your LTV as much as possible. And for that, we introduce something new that I would recommend to all of you to work with, and you can discuss with different developers that publish their games with Supersonic. How does this work for them? We introduced the LiveGames solution, which is another platform. We have one platform for the prototyping phase, where you can think about your concept, test your concept, look at the marketability power, at the retention, playtime, and Apapu. And we have a different platform. Once you're moving into soft launch with Supersonic, you're using our live game platform, which helps you to first get transparency into what happens with your game, and then also to optimize the LTV together with us, of course, to make sure that we are maximizing the potential of the game. You can find there financial reporting that show you your profit in real time, right? Your lifetime profit, month to date, current run rate, to understand how well your game is doing from profit perspective. We have a very advanced analytics that is looking at the 3 different layers of your LTV: player engagement, which is retention, playtime, Apapu, which I mentioned before, the ads engagement, how often users are engaging with ads, rewarded video, interstitial, banners, how many impressions, how many seconds we show an ad, and of course your ARPU and LTV. Everything is break down. You can see what users from Facebook are doing versus what users from ironSource or what users from Google are doing, to evaluate their LTV, etc. This is how it looks like. Everything it can be break down in several different metrics to understand what happens to your players within the game. We have a very advanced A/B testing, because once we move into soft launch, we probably will do 50 A/B tests along the way with your game, in order to make sure that we are maximizing the LTV of the game. Everything is fully transparent. You can see the A/B testing, you can see the LTV, the retention, the playtime of A versus B versus Z versus T. You can understand what works well. We believe that this way we are transparent. You are better as a developer, and we are better as a team to maximize your LTV of the title. And you can always follow the top creative. This is also updated in real time. You can see which creatives work the best, what share of installs they have, in order for you to understand what users like with your game from a marketability standpoint. Why users install it? Is it playable? Is it video? What kind of video? What are the colors? What specific scene within the game generates the best conversion into an install for your game? And this way, we are working together on the 4th phase of the hyper-casual publishing world, to optimize, to maximize the LTV, and to generate as much profit as possible with your game. This is it. This is how Supersonic believes that you should publish your hyper-casual games, and this is how you can maximize the profit and the chances to publish a good hit. I'm open for questions. We still have a few more minutes, and this is it. I'm looking at the Q&A section. Let's see. First one is, do you tend to use audio music in your games? So Not we use audio not as ads, but yes, we use audio in the game itself. We A/B test it many times, and we are looking to see if it improves the player engagement, the LTV, etc. And in most cases, it is. So yes, we are adding music and sound to our games. Usually, it's not in the early phase because the incrementality of adding sound and music is a bit lower than adding levels or adding meta or progression. So we are investing a lot of time first in this section, and then if we have more time, once we finish with this, we are moving into sounds and music. And yeah, we saw many times that it helps a bit and can improve the experience of the game itself. Let me see if I see more questions. No, I think that this is it. Guys, thank you so much for joining. We are looking forward to working with you. We believe that Turkey is a great place for hyper-casual. We saw such a tremendous growth there, and we are looking forward to work with more Turkish developers. We believe that our offering is quite unique, and what we cannot achieve with any other publisher out there. So we are here. You can approach us via the website. You can approach me via LinkedIn or any of other Supersonic employees. Stay tuned for our H2. We have some promising launches in the next week or so. And thank you so much, and enjoy the show. And thanks Mobidictum for hosting us. Bye bye.